Okay, and we're live. Is there anyone in there? Can anyone write in the chat by chance? Okay, so Allie's there. Okay, can you hear me well? Is everything okay? Awesome. Well, hi everyone. That's exciting. It's gonna be a live sculpting with me tonight. So I shouldn't be taking too long. There seemed to be a little bit of delay in the stream, so sorry if your questions are not answered exactly at the right time. But yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit of short because we're late. It's 9:30 here in Montreal, and kind of a little bit tired. But let's do this. Let's go. So I've been working on that little guy for a little bit. I've been wanting to do some Star Wars things for a while. Didn't really know exactly what, but I think any monster lovers or monster kids would actually appreciate that one. Watched a movie recently, and that little fella appears only in like one shot, but was still included in the Lego set from the Cantina. You can see him in A New Hope, and hope you will enjoy it. So some other people are coming in. Hey, thanks Matthew. Excited to be here. Excited for everyone to join. We seem to have a lot more people than I expected. So if you have any questions, comment, or whatever, I'll try to keep an eye on the chat. Like I said earlier, there's a little bit of delay, so it might be delayed, but I'll try to go in and be part of this. Try to include everyone in there. So, I'm working with wet clay currently. I know a lot of people, when I was doing the oh yeah, Matthew, sorry, I follow you guys on Instagram and I don't even know your real names. Like, crazy, right? Yeah, but sorry. So when I was doing all the conventions, spoke with a lot of people, and then about clay that they use. A lot of people are using or are scared to use wet clay, I find. Everybody goes to regular oil-based clay because it doesn't dry out. But I think we shouldn't be too scared of wet, because it doesn't dry that quickly. I think I'm really advanced on that little guy for the main shapes, the first forms. I know that I want to rework the ear a little bit. It's a little bit dodgy. Thanks, Matthew. Always appreciated. Always appreciate your support. Matthew as well does amazing work, amazing paint job, good with vintage paint jobs. Let me pull up my references on the side. I know a lot of people are hating on ears. Sculpting ears is always a little bit of a tricky in general, but I have to say that I personally love doing ears. They're so intricate. They have little shape and different variations that no ears can be the same, even though they all have the same forms in them. If you're a sculptor and you're ever struggling with ears, I suggest you go check George Shell and reference his ears. Always have really intricate and different ears and cool stuff in them. Sometimes simple but efficient, you know. Hey David, how you doing? When I sculpt, I tend to go in one area and then lost track and go to a completely different area for no fucking reason whatsoever. But like I'm already working on that ear and I see like the neck needs a lot of work. I use a lot of rakes as well. I used to hate rakes because they do a lot of marks and it's kind of harder to clean. But with wet, it's pretty easy, I find. You just take a brush, wet it. Yeah, wet clay rules. It does. It just works so much faster. What I struggle the most with oil-based clay is the cleaning. Cleaning is always a mess. Oh, good question, Allie. Allie, my sister-in-law. I will try to follow what Rick Baker did with the mask in original. So I'm looking here because I have my reference. A little bit of pores, and a lot of wrinkles here, probably. Wrinkles-ish. This is very attractive. Yes. Yes. Totally true, Matthew. Let me read it. I warm up the idea of wet clay. The idea of pushing a ton of clay around at once is very attractive. Yes. The other issue that I have with monster clay is, or well, oil-based clay, is that when it's set, it's a little bit harder to reshape your form. It's kind of like you have to go and rake heavily. With wet, you can just take your hands, push a little bit harder, and then reshape it the way you want. And the fact that it kind of dries differently. I mean, it starts a little bit muddy, and as you work, it's gonna go a little bit more leathery, and that leathery is really a nice feeling. See, I'm tired of doing the ear now. I'm just gonna go in the neck and refine those muscles and skin pulls that he has. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I love using old monstrosities tools. Made in UK, all by hand. They're pricey, but they're worth it if you are an avid sculptor. I used to own a bunch of different cheap camper-ish tools, and they would just break on me all the time. I would have them repair with epoxy, and it would just be a little bit hard to navigate with, and I got tired and finally went for the good stuff. Does everybody see okay? Is it sounds okay? Okay, awesome. Lighting is good. Arch of the nose is perfect. Thank you. It's not there yet, but I appreciate the encouragement. I use now for this one for the likeness, because I struggle with likeness. It's hard to me to sculpt likeness exactly how it is, and I find that taking a picture of it and going on the computer, putting it in Photoshop, putting it on top of another reference picture, it's time consuming, and then compare with the reference picture like this is time consuming, and by the time you're back at your sculpt, you kind of forgot what's the issue. Thank you, Green Hand Production. Looking good. It's getting there. What was I saying? yeah, so the likeness is hard for me. But with that one, I discovered an app. It's called, I think it's DaVinci. And it's basically I would say augmented reality, an AR app. See that in a new perspective. I've heard people reverse images to see them in a new perspective. Have you ever tried that? Or a mirror? I know a lot of people are doing that. I've never tried it myself. I know that Rick Baker used to film it with a camcorder and then look at the film itself. Sometimes I will work on a piece and I go to finish my day, take a picture of it, and then when I take a picture, I'm like, fuck, it looks horrible. Like, it doesn't look at all like what I see. So I would say maybe that's my way of looking for imperfection or different ways. And sometimes through the lens, there's some things that you see or that you don't see and don't translate well, and it can help you. But yeah, that app is doing, that DaVinci app is basically doing an AR of the image reference that you want, and you can just take your phone, point it to the sculpt, and then it will superpose your sculpt with that reference in real time. So it's been helping a lot for that kind of work. I think it's like $40 for a year. You have a free trial of 7 days or something like that. I mean, it's something that you do on a regular basis. And when I say $40, it's Canadian. So for Americans and you, it's gonna be like $10. No, maybe 30. Also like to go on top like this to see for this, to look for the symmetry. Like here. That sounds useful. I'll definitely snag the app. Yes. I mean, give it a try. Because, yeah, I was just tired of going back and forth to my computer to just check and then not remembering what I was actually looking at. I think the app is made for drawing originally, but great use for this kind of thing. I'm making stickers of my reference pics and add them to a photo of the sculpt current state. I'm computer illiterate. I mean, if that works for you, I don't see why it wouldn't be okay. I know that Jordu Shell was likeness is pretty good. I like your chin a little better than the original Thank you. Yeah, original I think is a little bit more. If I compare it, is a little bit more wide for now. I might go a little bit wider, but we'll see. Behold, mortals, witness the dark artistry of Chuck Macduff. Oh, I know that one. Just by the way he writes, as he breathes life into clay, conjuring a monstrous creation fit for the darkness depth. Keep up the grotesque work, fellow monster maker. Awesome. Nice to see you in there, Skeletor Paint. Oh, and we have a fellow Canadian that entered a chat here. Herman, how you doing? I'm happy that you made it. Herman he's from Handmade Curiosities, and fellow Canadian as well from Ontario. He does awesome mugs, cups, tumblers. They look monstrous. They are really unique and signature-wise. Herman has been nothing but nice to me, and we met for the first time at the Halloween market in Toronto, and since then I think it's been a great friendship in the making. He also does lives on Twitch, Tuesdays, Thursdays. I think they're gonna open a kiln. I don't know how to pronounce that exactly. Tomorrow at 4, if I'm wrong on Instagram. If you're curious to see if everything broke or everything comes in one piece and looks great, well, tune in. Another thing that I hate. Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm good, brother. One of these days, I'll teach you all the ways for likeness. Yeah, I was going to. Oh, talking about Handmade Curiosities. They made this wonderful mug. What I was going to say with the likeness earlier is George Duchel used to take like a transparent film and just draw the shape and forms of the sculpt or the likeness that he wants, or the alien or whatever, and then he would just go further and just compare with the transparent film and see if his shapes were accurate. I don't know if that's part of the old ways that you're thinking about. Thanks everyone for engaging and being here, because without any of you I wouldn't be here. And I decided to do lives like this, and I didn't know what to expect. So thanks for showing up. I really appreciate it. neck is going to be meaty, I think. A lot of things is happening in the neck, more than you would expect, even if you don't even see it on screen. I think if I remember well, that devil was an original sculpt from Rick Baker that he made for himself. It was an original sculpt. And when he started doing Star Wars, they needed multiple different creatures to fill the cantina scene, and he brought a couple of his own original creations, I think. That one and a werewolf that seems to have a name now, according to Skeleton Crew. Captain Brutus. I don't know if I pronounce it well with my French accent, but there's a lot of old tricks. I like a divider and plumb line. Oh, is that like a cut out cardboard that you just put on top of it, and then you make sure that your shape is accurate? I've seen that before too. I didn't know to make that connection on Skeleton Crew. Cool. Yeah. Me neither. I talked with John Flake, collector, and he mentioned it. I didn't see the series at the time, but I've seen it. I had seen it in commercials and trailers and stuff. But yeah, really interesting character. And if you haven't seen Skeleton Crew, it was actually really good. It was like Goonies-ish, but different than what we've been seeing with Star Wars lately. I don't think I'm gonna work the back of the head too much tonight, because I think it needs a lot more work, and it's kind of boring. But I'll give it a little bit on the sides. Do we have new questions and comments? Green Hand Productions. This and Drew from episode 4 are what got me interested in making monsters to begin with, so I love to see this. Yeah, totally agree with that. Oh yeah, kind of like calipers. Yes. Are you talking about these that you suggested me? Best of luck breathing life into your latest creatures, but alas, I must take my leave, for Blood Bash awaits me in the morrow. Oh, and the road is long until next time. Well, have fun at the Blood Bash. It's exciting. If you're in the Michigan area, go see Skeletor paint. Made the mask for him. Mouth is moving and everything. Sorry, not the mask, the face. I made his face. is not a mask. Yeah, if you're in the area, Michigan, go see him. Yeah, quick, easy, no tack. Yes. I mean, I love analog stuff, but sometimes if tech can, because I tried it with that one at first, and I think I had two different pictures. I tried to put them the same size, the reference pictures that I had, and I think they were not exactly the right size, and the face was a little bit off, and it was my first time using this, and I kind of struggled, and I got frustrated, but I still used it for a couple of things though. That was useful, like seeing if the eyes are the same size and stuff like that. Looking at a picture, and I think that is actually a little bit more in. So I'm gonna go with my finer rake and just go dig a little bit. If you're starting to sculpt, or even if you're an experienced sculptor, I discovered those. Well, Instagram blasted these books in my face for a long time. It's about the anatomy. I don't remember the title of it. Let me check. It's anatomy of facial expressions. They also have head and neck, and it is a reference book for anatomy, but specifically for sculptors. Really interesting, cool stuff in it. Always nice to reference everything when you're sculpting. Finally bought that book. Yes, it's kind of like a Bible, because when you start sculpting, you don't really think about it, but anatomy is crucial. It's make it or break it. And sometimes when I sculpt, I move a little bit away from where I'm going, and then after, you just have to trust the process. and just go with it. And believe in yourself that it's gonna end up exactly where it should be at the end. The head and neck one, yeah, it's been a huge help so far. That and the skull model is I snagged. Ooh, skull, yes. Do you have a real skull? Like a anatomic skull that you, like a human, made out of a human mold or something like that? I got the full body one, probably grabbing the head neck. Yeah, especially if you're making masks, I think the head neck is kind of like a given. Yeah, that's fine. It's resin, but it's to scale an anatomically accurate. Sorry, I'm struggling with that word. Yeah, totally. Helps me with ratios, he said. A skull is kind of hard to make, I find. Harder than you would expect. There's a lot of little intricate stuff happening in the skull. And if it's off, the entire thing looks off. I would love this sculpt to be pretty much accurate, but I think it's gonna have to be a little bit of, not interpretation, but with the chuck twists, you know? We'll see how it ends up. Another thing that I hate, under the chin. I can never see properly. If anyone has a trick for that, I would love to share the class here. I got that fancy table made in Italy on Amazon. I've been loving it so far. It's got different heights. So I think the next live that I will be doing on February 28th will be based off, I'll be making a half mask from start. It's gonna be from start, but probably not gonna finish it planning maybe a 2 hour, 2 hour and a half, I don't know. As long as people want to see that. But at least it's going to be giving a good idea of the process from the start, which I feel like we don't see often. Once again with wet clay, because it's so much faster to work with in a short period of time. Also to have make people a little bit more comfortable with wet clay. Like I said at the beginning, people seem to be a little bit, when I was talking to them in convention and stuff, a little bit worried of the fact that the wet clay would dry out. But if it starts to dry, just wet it a little bit with a spray bottle. You could also put paper towels, wet paper towels on top. I will do that for the tip of the ears often because they dry super easily. They're really thin, so it's kind of like the part where it's an issue, really. Okay, so let's try this. It's like things that come down. I'll just put those lines for reference for now. There will not be super accurate. They will change with time. Do you always stand when you sculpt? I've been doing that too, sculpting and hair work. I never do seated for some reason. Good question. I used to sculpt sitting and standing up. I do both still. With that table, it's a little bit different. I tend to be a little bit more standing up, but I think it's good to stand up sometimes. And since that table as well, if I need to go lower, yes, I will use a little stool and I will sit instead of just kneeling down. That's a good question. Sometimes it hurts the feet. We have a good shape going on now. I was thinking maybe doing like an hour tonight. We're gonna end the feed at around 10:30. Once again, thank you for joining. So if you have any questions, comments, also decided to go with just clay eyes. I usually use eye forms. They're like kind of like ping pong balls that I got during Halloween for fake eyes and stuff. Just plastic, and I cut them in half and use them for eye shapes. But for this one, I wasn't sure if I was going for the sculpted pupil or the iris, and because I think Rick Baker did a version of it, resculpted it, and added the eye to the sculpture, and I was kind of like tempted to do that. So I don't know if I'll accomplish it or not, but at least I have the option compared to the plastic balls that cannot be sculpted in. Pretty much every time that I add something to the sculpt, I will go rake on top, just to blend it together and make sure that the shape is okay. Basic, but I really like the horns on that creature. Killing it. Thank you, Jose. Yeah, I like the horns on that creature. At first, I did them, then they were like so off, so big, and they're actually smaller than you would expect in reality. So I like the texture that he has in the original. Try to recreate that as well for the horns. So wet clay, super easy to clean with water and a brush, or even like sponges. I don't think I have sponges next to me. And it kind of like blends everything together really well as well. Without, it's effortless. And with a sponge, it's fun as well. It's you can push a little bit the clay while you clean it, just to refine the shape a little bit more, and you can easily reshape it the way you want. Do you cover the sculpture with plastic in between session? Yes. Yes. Good question. Yes, all the time. I will spray it with water. Let me get a sponge. I will spritz it with water all over, and then cover it with a trash bag around it, and I use an elastic to really seal it tight so it's not going anywhere. I know some people take like a tool or like a paintbrush, and they will make a knot with the trash bag and just poke the trash bag in the sculpture so it seals it. If you don't have an elastic or anything. The sponge as well, when you clean it, what I like is, like, I'm not there yet, I'm not at the texture yet for that one, but you can do like pre-texture just by sponging a little bit, and it kind of gets rid of the little marks as well that the sponge leaves or anything leaves. Will you be posting this for a later watching as well? Yes, I will. I don't know how. I'll figure it out. I think I'm recording the thing, so I'll figure it out. It's going to be posted on my YouTube if anyone is interested to rewatch me talking about stuff and sculpting for an hour, if that interests anyone. I'm also working on a lengthy tutorial for molding, 2-part molds. I know it was requested by a lot of people, and I think people will be pleased with it. But I had some issue with the sound for half of it, so I'll need to figure that out and go through over 4 hours of footage. But it's gonna come. Another thing with wet clay, when you clean it and you like your shape, you need to be careful because it tends to kind of wash it out a little bit sometimes. If you apply too much water or too much pressure, kind of like it's softening everything, which can be good, but sometimes you really like your shape and then you clean it and you're like, oh fuck, I lost my shape a little bit, and then you need to resculpt a little bit, rebuff it. I really like where this guy is going. I think it's gonna be fun to paint as well. I want to recreate the same color scheme for it as the original. We'll see. Use my little tool here that someone in the chat might recognize. It was gifted to me by Herman. Sometimes I can start fine, and then as you twist it, it kind of gets a little bit larger, and yeah, it's got a nice grip. Liking how those lines are coming, but I'm trying to refine them with my rake tool a little bit. Just make them a little bit more natural and less like a tool mark. We see really what I'm doing right now. As I'm sculpting that, I see the ear, and then I kind of want to go work on that ear again, the other ear. See how it's sculpt here. It's just a little bit. Well, we are at 10:30 exactly. Well, 10:31. Yeah, I think I'm pretty knackered for today. Kind of don't want to stop. I have to, because I feel myself a little bit going in places that not sure if I should. Thanks for sharing. Yes. Well, thanks for being here. Thanks for showing up. I really appreciate everyone's support and everyone that showed up to this little session. I don't want it to drag for too long. And yeah, it was fun. Luke's Rain, thanks for sharing the process, man. Pleasure. Thanks for sharing the process, Herman. And yeah, let's finish that up. I think we're good. And I'll be doing another one on February 28th. A little bit earlier that time. I'll be doing, like I said, the AF mask. Maybe a zombie. I'm not sure exactly what I'll do, but I want to do something that really starts from scratch and that I can move pretty quickly. Without dragging that too much, and then see a lot of change, more than the change we've seen tonight. Oh. So you just cover it like this, spritz it, cover, and then take the elastic, just make sure that it's tight. I water it. If you don't touch it for a long time, you can maybe like every 4 to 5 days or once a week, you can just spritz with water. You can also put some Lysol if you know you're not going to touch it for a long time on top of the water, and that will prevent any mold to appear on your sculpt. Otherwise it's doing like that. It's doing molding or a little fuzz on it. So yeah, that was fun. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Take care.